Do you want to talk more about maybe some of the semen retention stuff? I feel like people have no clue what any of that is.
Yeah. So we don't have like a modern way of speaking about semen in
No.
in yoga. They talk about it as like your life force energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes sense because it's really the life force energy that creates children.
Yeah.
And for men, it's a very powerful, like our body takes a lot of its resources to create that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do ejaculate, you feel really tired because you're releasing a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if done a lot, you feel really, really tired.
Yeah.
And if you conserve it, you feel really good. So it's a practice that's done in Chinese medicine and yoga and many traditions. And yeah, there's an energy there, and it's literally in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an inner energy, they would call it. And what you can do with this energy is you can draw it up your spine and to other parts of your body, and that energy can nourish those parts of the body. So this is our capacity. We can use breath, and we can move that around the body. We can move blood around the body, and we can, I don't know if it's the actual semen, but it's the energy that's in that region. Some call it Kundalini in other areas. So
yeah. So you can actually take that and use it elsewhere instead of just releasing it to nothing.
Right. And that's part of, like, as I was saying, like gathering all the energies in one direction. It took me that like 2 years of being like, no, women, just focus on your purpose and like what you really want to do. Gather all that energy in one direction. And then there's a certain kind of magic that happens when we're fully in alignment with what we want to do, and we're not distracted by
all this other stuff,
every woman that walks by or whatever that may be.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be a lot of work, actually.
Yeah. It takes a lot of, and it felt organic at the time for me, though. It didn't feel forced.
Okay.
So I did that year, and that felt really good. And then it got a little bit vague, and then it felt like sexual repression.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, now I'm repressing it. Like, it felt super organic for that first year, maybe because I made the full commitment, and that's what I wanted. And then it was just kind of vague. It's just kind of like, well, I'm having sexual feelings and thoughts, but now I'm just not having sex, and then it got all weird. So it's like, okay, this is getting weird.
Yeah. So then you obviously just broke it. At that point, it just felt like you were pushing it, I guess.
I did almost another full year.
Okay.
And then what had happened, I had met somebody, and then it was just this really beautiful, organic, and conscious, intimate relationship that we had briefly. And then it came, and then it left within a few weeks. And it was both like, we had both decided consciously, like, this was not a relationship. This was just something really beautiful that we had between us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ended. And then that was really just like a big teaching for me of, it felt organic to do the celibacy, and then to come back into right relationship with women and the whole sex act, because it completely transformed the way that I viewed women to be celibate. That needed a lot of deep healing in that area. And then to come back to sex as like the most sacred thing, because when you've actually given it up, especially when you're older for a time, like food, anything that you give up for that period, you come back into a new relationship with it, and there's an opportunity to really alter that.
Yeah, that actually, I feel like I've sort of honestly had that like a little bit now, where I'm like, I don't know, you just think about it differently instead of when you're like 19 and like everybody's just having sex and you're telling your buddies all your stories and all that kind of stuff. Like, you don't really care about the girl half the time. It's honestly usually just for the story or something stupid like that. Whereas now, like, I don't know, I definitely feel like I would treat someone a lot differently coming into those things. So I can see where you're coming from a little bit there. And I like feel like I don't like say I'm going to be celibate or do any of that stuff, but sometimes it'll be months and I just won't have sex, and I don't like feel the need to like go out and just try and have sex for the sake of having sex. So I don't think I've done a year, but there's definitely been some months at times where it just goes by, and before you know it, you're like, oh wow, it's already been kind of like what you said. It's already been 4 months. May as well do a year, except I haven't done the may as well do a year yet.
Right.
So,
and I do really feel like there is a quality of intention that comes through and like why you're doing it, because there's guys who just never had sex. They're like, oh, you did a year.
Yeah.
I had my whole lifetime.
Yeah.
It's like, beat that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's true. It's like, it's not that big of a deal to go with it
No.
for a year. But like when there's an intention of like, let's really reorganize the relationship and everything that goes on. And
I think it's just even society too. Like people think you're supposed, I don't know, like if I tell someone that I haven't had sex for 3 months, like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? How, what do you mean? How can you not do that for 3 months? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just like, sometimes I just don't even think about it. I have so much other stuff going on or other things in life that might be important at that time that I don't know. So, but people are like, I mean, maybe they're addicted or it's whatever they're led to believe about sex, I guess.
yeah, it depends what kind of circles you're running.
Yeah.
I'm running with a lot of yogis. There's a lot of good, interesting conversations around that.
Yeah.
But
true.
yeah, it's hard to speak in the majority, but like for a lot of our culture just doesn't have a really beautiful and sacred way of relating to sex. And it is the most sacred act. It literally creates life.